everyone. Welcome to another episode of Rebecca and Rebecca. My name is Rebecca Yager, coming to you from very hot Texas this summer. And my friend and partner in books is Rebecca Reed from Indiana. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm doing great, trying to stay cool. Today we are here to talk books. We love books. It's what we do. And we are going to do a review of a book called A Run at Love by Toni Shiloh. And Toni will be joining us later this month, and we are excited to talk to her. But let's talk about her book first and see what we think about it. Rebecca, let me see. We should read about the book, right?
We should.
Do you have it up or we didn't do that. Sorry. Coming up.
We were not prepared today.
We were having we were having a business meeting before the review and we do it. I've got it. All right. Let us read about A Run at Love, and then we can talk more about it. So it's a contender running for the roses. As a Black woman in a field with little diversity, Piper McKinney is determined to make her mark on the horse racing world. Raised on a thoroughbred farm in Kentucky, Piper's dream is for her horse to win the prestigious Kentucky Derby. With the help of her best friend and trainer, Tucker Hale, she gains national attention but must grapple with the complications that arise when a journalist delves into her past as a transracial adoptee. In an effort to win Piper's heart, Tucker formulates a plan to train Piper's horse to victory, hoping to prove himself to her, her parents, and his own self-doubts. Then a shocking scandal hits the media, implicating both Piper and her parents, and she and Tucker will have to survive the onslaught to find their way to the winner's circle and each other. And this is book 2 of Love in the Spotlight. And again, it's A Run at Love by Toni Shiloh. All right, initial thoughts about A Run at Love. It's contemporary romance.
And the romance is the best part of the story, in my opinion. I enjoyed Tucker and Piper's romance. It was, they were friends for a very long time. So it's a friends to more type of trope, but it's really well done. I think we both agreed that we enjoyed the fact that the author did not like drag out this friendship forever. They actually got together quite early in the story as boyfriend, girlfriend. Their relationship developed quite quickly, and it was very even though it was fast, though, it felt organic. It didn't feel forced. They already had a lot of past history, and so therefore it wasn't difficult to get them together quickly. They knew each other. They knew each other's families. They'd already shared a lot of experiences. And then, of course, the horse brings them even closer together. So this horse racing is, of course, something that I love and have been a part of most of my life. Not as much recently, but early on, I was very, very involved. My family raised racehorses. I've rode in races. I was a jockey and all of that. So I was very, I always love horse stories anyway. But this one with the racing aspect was especially fun to read. There were, so I have to confess, I'm an insider, horse racing insider. So there are things that the public doesn't know that happen. I thought Toni did a pretty good job of showing how it works, to qualify for the Derby and all of that. A lot of the history that she put out there, horse racing history, was interesting. The fact that Piper memorized like all of the past Kentucky Derby winners, that is not unrealistic. I used to have every Triple Crown winner memorized. I knew their pedigrees, I knew the year, I knew all of that. So that was very realistic to me, that she would do something like that. There was a couple of other things that maybe were not quite as realistic, things that I noticed, but if you're reading it, you're not going to notice, and it's not going to detract from the story or from your enjoyment of it. And even though I knew that there was a few things that were maybe just a tad bit off, it didn't really affect my enjoyment either. So I mean, I mentioned them just because I noticed them, but from an author's standpoint, you know, the research on this was not easy because it's hard to crack those kind of worlds that are their own micro
Yeah, their own
world, you
bubble.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's very secluded, and a lot of the stuff is just not common knowledge, and you wouldn't know unless you were actually part of it. So I thought she did a fine job of that. What did you think
Well,
about?
again, as someone who doesn't know horses, like you do and stuff, I found the information very interesting. She didn't overdo it to where I felt like I had an information dump about the history of the Kentucky Derby. I thought it was interesting, the races leading up to it and garnering the points so you can qualify for the Kentucky Derby. All that was interesting to me. I like that she talked about and you did too, or you would, the care for horses and how special the horses are, and they need to be cared for and, you know, not overused. And
Protected. Yeah,
yeah, there you go, and stuff. So that was good. So whatever inaccuracies there might have been, they're minor and doesn't detract from the story itself.
I
Music,
agree. Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
completely. Yeah.
So we talked about Tucker and Piper, and they are childhood friends, which we love, and the trope from friends to a romantic couple, and that did happen quickly, but again, it was realistic because they'd known each other for so long. And I think what we liked about this, the little bit of a twist on the contemporary romance, because they got together so quick that the conflict was outside of their relationship, but affected their relationship, the main conflict. So it was kind
Yes.
of a nice little, it was a different way to do it, to really test the newness of their relationship. The conflict really tested them with their friendship. I mean, not even their romantic relationship, but with their
Mhm.
friendship, be able
There
to
were a lot of
withstand.
Yeah, there were a lot of stressors on their relationship. I mean, they got together, but then there's a lot of stress involved in horse racing, a lot of factors that are outside of the control of the owner or the trainer. And then the outside conflict that dealt with um, her parents, which was also very well done and very realistic, I thought. Also the reporter and
Mhm.
his questions that he asked that caused stress was also very well done. And I thought that the focus there on the interracial adoption, that was, it wasn't overdone. And I thought Tony did a good job of shining a light on how that affects both parties, right? The parents
Mhm.
even, because of how
Mhm.
they, you know, the things they did to kind of insulate her. She was quite the fish out of water when she was put into that household in that particular geographic area, and being, you know, the only person of color in that area at all. You know, we don't, I think people that in the majority don't consider how it affects a person who is not exactly like everyone else. And not that
Right.
anyone's exactly like anyone else, but, you know, from the outside viewpoint,
Oh, sure.
we don't think about those things. And I thought Tony did a great job of highlighting the differences while not making it a big issue. You know, I mean, I think she did a great job of highlighting all the advantages that the adoption brought to Piper,
Mhm.
even while Piper still had some things that she wanted to know about her past. And that's normal and natural. I'm an adoptee as well, not in a transracial adoptee, but I'm still an adoptee. And I think I connected with those just as an adoptee, the things she thought about or considered or, you know, questioned. Is that how my parent, you know, was, or my biological parent? You know,
Right.
where did I get that? Did it come from my biology, or did it come from my environment, my raising? You know, and those are normal questions from any adoptee, I feel like.
Yeah, and again, I think Tony did a great job showing that tug of war, because Piper is obviously very devoted to her parents, her adopted parents in Kentucky, but also really stands out again, as a person of color in a very white world. I mean, let's be forward about this, Fred. And it's also a biracial romance because Tucker is white. But again, she didn't go into a lot of detail and play that up. These are two people who were childhood friends who fell in love, and I kind of just loved that. That color didn't play a huge part in their relationship.
It was refreshing in a way,
Yeah,
I thought.
it really was. It really was. So well done on that. As usual, you and I like all the side characters in these
Yes.
stories because they can add so much. And Tucker's friends, and he texts a lot with the friends, and two of them are from book one, Love and the Love Script. Excuse me, the Love Script. Lamont and Nevaeh.
Nevaeh
Yeah.
that's his wife. They're married now, right? Yes.
Or
Lamont.
engaged. Anyway, but
Engaged.
they are that
Well,
Lamont and
yeah,
Nevaeh
they're together.
are
I don't
the
know.
focus of book one on this, and they play a big part in book two, along with another friend, Chris, who I have a feeling is book three, because they're setting him up here for this. But the friends are good, and the way they support Tucker and Piper, and in the text messages that go back and forth, I thought were a lot of fun. So we always love friends that are supportive like that.
I think the texting was a really innovative way to almost get like a different viewpoint in there without actually having a POV character, because, they're text messages, so they're written in, first person, and it was just a really neat way to add backstory without having to just dump it on the reader, and to get kind of that the truth teller in there, like people who can be part of the lives of these of the main characters, but without being physically there. So the texting was very well done.
It was, and you just said it. My thought was they are the truth tellers, because his friends were just like, "Hey, Tuck, come on," just telling him the real deal and didn't beat around the bush at
Right.
all. So they were very fun characters. Talking about the conflict, and again, we don't want to do spoilers, but it is mentioned in the blurb that there is conflict with Piper's parents. And the way Toni played out how you would feel about your parents in the midst of this situation, and how Piper was trying to deal with issues with her dad and stuff, I thought was really interesting.
Me too. And I thought that the difficulty that her mother had of coming to grips with the whole conflict. I don't want to say too much, but
The
um,
situation.
the situation was because the mom had a harder time than the daughter, than Piper. So, and then Piper had to deal with both being kind of in the middle, like she was stuck in the middle of this conflict between her mom and her dad. And that, I think, is a typical thing for a child, especially an only child, to deal with in these types of situations. And um I thought she had just the right amount of, like, boldness out of Piper. Like, Piper was bold in some times, and then other times she was just overwhelmed and overcome by grief almost, because of she was fearing, the outcomes that could happen, and she was, letting her imagination sort of, get the better of her as far as, like, what happens if, you know, they don't
Yeah.
get back together, which is a really valid fear, for, the situation.
For any child wondering about
Mhm.
the state of her parents' marriage. So yeah, the scandal really does rock Piper's world. Tuck scrambles to try to support her and take care of her, and then there's a little deeper area there, which we're not even going to go into because I don't want to give away the spoilers, but it even goes another level deeper, the scandal and the conflict. So again, Toni's handling what the characters are going through really well, against the backdrop of trying to make it to the Kentucky Derby. trying to understand all it takes to get there and to really follow their dreams. And the horse is named Dream. I guess we can share that. So I kind of love that the horse is.
Yeah, the horse is almost a metaphor for the whole story, really, and how the horse is doing versus, and the things that happen to the horse and the fears that, surround the whole, racing are really kind of mirrors for what's going on emotionally with the characters in the story, I think. I thought one of Toni's strengths, I haven't read a lot of her work, but she's very, very good at communicating the emotions of her characters, and that's one of the things I would say is very, very strong in this story, is you do know exactly how they feel, and sometimes an author's dealing with emotions comes across as manipulative, but I don't feel like this one
Mm,
did.
oh, wow. Yeah,
It was,
gosh, manipulative wasn't even in my lexicon there. Yeah, you're right.
it was also the motivation, the reaction, and then the aftermath, they all followed very well as to real human emotions and how people and different people, because these characters dealt with the same situation in very different ways. And that was really a good testament to how well Toni knew those characters and how well she had developed them before or as she was writing. I'm not sure what her process is. So that'll be something that'll be interesting to find out when we interview her is, did she know the characters or did she come to know them more as she wrote the story? How much did she figure out before and during?
Right, because the characters really, yeah, you're drawn in. I want to go meet these people, all of them,
Mhm. Yeah,
and say
yeah.
howdy. So they were very realistically drawn, and you can envision them out there in the world, and not just face. So I thought it was well done. A few things I think we're gonna comment on that have nothing to do with Toni or the writing of the book. It was things like the narrator wasn't your favorite.
No, she was not. Um, and I think the biggest thing I disliked, especially at the beginning when I first started listening, was I guess the speech pattern that she used, like, for lack of a better way to describe it, she had just the pausing did not feel natural to me. And so as I was thinking about the words in my head and how she phrased them, they were not the way I would have done it. And so that threw me off, because if I had been reading this book on Kindle or, in paperback, I would have said it differently in my head than what the narrator did, and it was enough different that it really threw me off. Now, as I listened more, I got used to it, and so I didn't notice it as much, but at first, like, the first 2 or 3 chapters, I had to keep stopping and, like, going away because not because the story was bad, but just because I couldn't handle the narrator. Um
And and again, the story's good. We like the story. So let's please
And
differentiate
and the
here.
narrator, like, as far as the voices and everything, that wasn't the problem. It was just the phrasing of the way she
Interesting.
pronounced the sentences, so and
That's
maybe
it.
that won't bother everyone, it just might have been me.
Well,
I
okay.
don't
If
know.
y'all have listened, any of you've listened to the book, please share your opinions with us. We'd like to
Yeah,
know. Um,
make some comments, and I wanna know
yeah.
if it's just me or if it's you, if you noticed the same thing.
Or were you just in a weird mood when you were listening to
I
this,
don't
Rebecca?
know. I don't know.
On that, a couple things. My Kindle's a little older, but I did read this on Kindle, and there were a couple of pages that said page can't load. Again, this is nothing to do with Toni, nothing to do with the story. This is just and I was able to skip to the next page and not miss anything critical, I don't think, and stuff. But it was just it,
Uh,
unusual for
mm.
something happened with the formatting there. So if you're reading it on Kindle, did that happen to you? Did y'all miss a couple of pages? Um, or did yours work fine? And if yours worked fine, then maybe my Kindle is too old. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd like to know. Please
Yeah.
comment. Please, let us know what your experiences were with the audio, with the technology. Basically, it's technology that we're kind
It
of
is
critiquing
technology.
here. Like I said, nothing to do with the story or the writing or anything. It was all that was fine. It was just the technology was a bit off.
So maybe this is a book you need to read in paperback and just go sit and you're on the beach, you're on vacation this summer, enjoy your read and get back and read it, or in your favorite comfy chair outside, because I think it is a story worth reading. Again, the Kentucky Derby stuff was interesting to me, and I'm not necessarily a horse person, so don't let that throw you. Oh, I don't know anything about horses. No, don't.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah. And it's just a story because I think Piper and Tuck are drawn very well. And then how they handle their new romance and their new relationship with the scandal and with everything that's swirling around them, I think is at the heart of the story.
Yeah, it's a very encouraging book too. I felt
Yeah.
like uplifting book. So if you're needing some encouragement in a relationship or dealing with conflict, this might be what you want to read. So
yeah, if you're facing something pretty major and don't know how to deal with it, especially if it's affecting someone close to you, like Piper and her parents, this is a good one to read. To really, there's a lot of faith elements in this, which I really liked. Prayer was very important. So leaning on God. So I really liked how encouraging Toni wrote this and how inspirational the book is. So
agreed.
all right. Well, it's A Run at Love by Toni Shiloh. And again, we'll be talking to Toni here in a couple of weeks. So we hope you will join us and we'll get more background on our writing process and how these characters have come to life and how they grew out of her obviously wonderful imagination.
So what do we have coming up in August? This is our July, right? So what do we got coming up in August?
August is we are going to read a debut book, Tangled Promises by Lynn Watson. So this will be a new author. Tangled Promises is out now if you guys want to jump ahead and get ready for August. And the author
It's
is Lynn
historical
Watson.
fiction, yes?
It is historical.
Fiction.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we're going
great.
back. Yeah. With apparently a hint of mystery in it. I think a hint of romance, but it's mainly the historical. Neither one is strong, so it might be some interesting threads in there. So we'll look forward to that. And again, we hope to see you in a couple of weeks when we talk to Toni Shiloh. But meanwhile, pick up A Run at Love. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.